Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to our virtual town hall. Tonight is entitled Generational Wealth. And we have a very special guest, Dr. George Fraser will be joining us. And one of the things that I want to say is thank you. I really believe time is so precious, and so many of you have been sharing already how much you've enjoyed these virtual town hall sessions. My colleague Tony Jackson and I, we said we wanted to just really make a positive difference. With COVID-19, there was a lot of financial uncertainty. Schools were closing, businesses were closing, people were losing their jobs. I understand now we're over 30 million people have filed for unemployment. And so there's a lot of financial uncertainty. And so what we wanted to do is share some insights, share some strategies, because when the mind just starts rolling, you can run down that rabbit hole, right? And that chatter in your mind, it just starts going crazy, right? And so we wanted to share some solutions, bringing thought leaders on and as well as individuals that are experts in their field. And so if you remember, we had our first session and we talked about, okay, listen, the stock market, it's cycles and so on and so forth. And we brought on Michael Harding from Anaco. And that was really phenomenal. He talked about, Warren Buffett talked about, hey, what's rule number one to investing? Don't lose your money. And then they said, okay, Warren Buffett, you're one of the greatest investors of all time. What's rule number two? He said, see rule number one. And so with that, we talked about that. We unpacked it. And that was really powerful. And then with the stimulus checks going out and PPP and the emergency, disaster loan, we wanted to bring on an expert to talk about that. And so we brought on a young lady from Michigan, Michelle, and she really unpacked what this all means and how to really, benefit from this opportunity. And we even talked about the following week, the tax implications of all of this, right? And if you remember, we brought on Mary Nicole Douglas, who really talked about, listen, let's just talk about tax planning, because it's important to have a plan, right? As far as, making sure that you know exactly what you're doing. And, that was really phenomenal. And I remember Tony even breaking it down how the taxes right now, 2020, it's really at a low. And with the stimulus package, the CARES Act, we're going to have to more than likely raise taxes. So you have to be prepared. And so that was phenomenal. And then just last week we had, oh my goodness, was it Gibby? I believe it was, the director, Mecklenburg County Director of Health came on. Nicole, and it was really phenomenal from the standpoint that she really helped us understand this whole COVID-19, because there's a lot of different perspectives going on as far as, what's truth, what's, gossip, and the health issues of it. Because remember, your health is your wealth. And then we had Eugene Mitchell, right, who talked about the $10 billion program, right, to just really, utilize insurance as a way to create wealth. And so tonight, very happy that we have a gentleman who's a dear friend of ours, of both Tony and I, Dr. George Fraser. And it's going to be really phenomenal. And, Success Runs in Our Race. It's a great book. And you can see I still have mine from years ago. And so, yeah, thank you, Dr. Bonita Harris. Thank you for being here. Love that you're always here. And I'd like for you to go ahead and type in the chat box, where are you watching from? Because I think that's important. And while you're doing that, I want to share, we got a phenomenal, we get so many comments, emails, text messages, people saying, wow, they're really being blessed by The Real Money Coach. And do definitely check out our website page, therealmoneycoach.com, because we have upcoming events. In fact, we have a Saturday program, a financial literacy program, totally free, complimentary. You even get a complimentary workbook that goes with the sessions. It's an 8-week program. So I want to encourage you to go ahead and reserve your seat. Go to www.therealmoneycoach.com and just reserve your seat. Even if you can't attend all 8 sessions, and they're at Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern until 12 noon. Even if you can't attend all 8, go ahead and reserve your seat so that at least you can be on the list so that you can receive the recorded video of the webinar session. And I tell you, this is what it's all about, because especially right now with all that's going on, I have there's a thought leader. Her name is Brenda, and she's really phenomenal. She said something that was very powerful and something that, really struck a nerve with me. She said, isolation leads to revelation. Think about that. Isolation leads to revelation. And that's amazing, right? I mean, that's really amazing when you think about it. And so I want to say thank you, Dr. Benita Harris. You're with Ruth Bell. Hey, Ruth, great to have you here. Terry Bolton's here from California, Riverside, California. So thank you. And, go ahead and you can type in the chat box where you're watching from. But here's what I wanted to share, and I'll bring Tony up in a second. But here's the feedback we've been receiving. And again, one of the things with COVID-19, I want you to understand, life is interesting and life will throw curveballs, but it's not that what happens to you. More importantly, it's what happens through you. Okay, let me say that. It's not about what happens to you. More importantly, it's about what happens through you. And I share that because I want you to understand, yes, life, will throw upside down curveballs, right? Uppercuts and whatnot. But here's what I want you to understand. There's an opportunity. There's blessings in disguise. And we'll unpack that when I bring Tony up. But I want to share this. One of the viewers was sharing with us that I plan to be here as I do every Thursday night. Oh, let me repeat. I'm sorry. I plan to be here as I do every Thursday night at 8 p.m. You both are awesome. I had been helped so much with all of your information. Keep up the good work. I know God is pleased. I'm so happy with all the other heavyweights that you are bringing to us. I'm so excited. And so that we want to say thank you. I mean, that's just one of many responses that we get. So I want to bring Tony up now, and we've got Wayne and Adrian watching as well from Atlanta and Charlotte. Glad to have you here. So let's bring up Tony. Tony, how you feeling, brother?
Hey, man, in that email, she said heavyweights. We got a heavyweight tonight.
Oh, yes, we do.
Got a heavyweight for sure tonight. We have Dr. George C. Frazier himself. And so we're really, really excited tonight. And I'll tell you, Marlon, I just really want to I want to give thank you to you, man. Honestly. So here's the thing. The reason why I want to say thank you is because through our relationship,
sure,
and I've got a chance to meet some great people. Dr. George Frazier is one of those people, and he and I have become close. I consider him a mentor. And so, man, we're just excited about tonight. We're excited about sharing and hearing. Now, here's the thing that I understand, and I heard someone say this the other day, is that you don't put a saddle on a Mustang. So, when you have a thoroughbred that's going to come on and do his thing, you don't put a saddle on him. You just let George come and be George. And so, so that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to let Dr. G be Dr. G. And so we're really excited about that.
Yeah. Now, and I want to say something, Tony. You talk about relationships. And I think, before we move on, because, we'll be talking about wealth building, right? And so on and so forth. And relationships. I just want everyone to really hear my heart. COVID-19, yes, life is turned upside down. It's the new norm. And, you hear all these things. But I want you to understand it's about relationships. And, for Tony to recognize me, I want to say thank you, Tony. You've been a blessing in my life as well. And, and for me, my friend Bishop Mike, he always talks about you give your bouquet of roses while the person's still alive. And so one of the things, as we get into this program, I just want to encourage each and every one of you, before you go to bed this evening, send out, 3 text messages or make 3 calls or send out 3 emails, letting people know. Earlier today, Tony, I sent out emails to my family, and I'm very grateful. The Jones family, the Austin family, right? And what I want you to understand, for all of us, life is precious, and, with this COVID-19, one thing that we have to realize is that tomorrow's not promised. There were so many people, Tony, who, diagnosed, COVID-19 positive, right? Coronavirus. Some people haven't made it, right? Others are still in the hospital right now. Mm-hmm. And so we have to just, uplift prayers. But again, I want to encourage all of us to let this time, as Brenda shared with me, isolation leads to revelation. And so, think about what's important to you. Who's important to you, right? And that's why I wanted to, to my colleague, I wanted to say thank you, and we got Brad watching, we got Polly on here, we got Adele, this is all part of our team, right? And so just very grateful that these individuals are here. And, and like you said, Tony, man, this started, talk to us, Tony, about, how did this start? We weren't doing, we weren't doing virtual reality shows,
right.
March, right? Talk to me, man, what happened?
So Marlon, this is what happened, right? So we're in the Park Church, and I want to give a shout out to the Park Church. Yes. Bishop Claude Alexander, my good friend Arthur Wilson over there. And so we were doing a class at the Park Church. George came and kicked the class off, or kicked the program off. We had over 130 people in that class. We were going strong. It was going great. Now, at the same time, you and I were doing a class across the county, right? Over in Harrisburg at Oak Grove Baptist Church.
Come on, somebody.
And we had done 1 week. And then that's when the shelter-in-place order came down. Yep. And we had good friends, Brian and Lisa McNeil, were in that class. And they invited me to come to their empowerment show. And so I went to their empowerment duo. So I went on that show, and the download came. I was thinking, they were thinking, let's go ahead and do the class on their platform called StreamYard.
Yes,
and
sir.
From there, I was so impressed with the platform. I want to give a shout out to, I immediately text Chris Jackson, our tech guy. He can bring himself on too and say, hey, he's amazing. He's amazing. He's amazing. And I asked him if he knew about it, if he could run it. He said he could. I mentioned to you, the three of us got on it. He was at Michigan at the time. The three of us got together, and the download came, The Real Money Coach.
Man, I'm telling you,
we started with Thursday night. We said that we were gonna do a couple of them,
right?
And so we ended up doing 6 in the series of the COVID. Come on, Chris, come on. So we ended up doing we ended up doing 6 in that series of COVID-19.
Right.
And you mentioned them. You mentioned all of them. And then, of course, our friends over at Nations Forward, they wanted to kick off a class. And, of course, we're still under shelter in place. And so we decided to do it virtually. And that's what prompted our Saturday class off. Yes. And so now we're doing this 2-3 times a week, bringing this information. And for me, it's ministry. For me, it's just so powerful, man, to just get this information out. I tell people,
Tony, definitely also let's bring up the Saturday, program, just so people can see it. You could walk us through it,
Sure. I'm going to do that. I'm going to walk us through it. But before I get there, I want to lay this down for us real quick.
Somebody's phone. This is live TV, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that was me, man. I don't know what happened. Am I still here? Okay, I'm still here. So I throw that phone over there somewhere. Okay, so so have you ever been to a comedy show?
I have.
And you like the Kings of Comedy,
yes,
or you got something like that's out there. And what happens is that they bring on a warm-up act, right?
Sure.
And so they bring up the warm-up act, they'll come out and they'll do their little thing, and then comes the headliner, right?
Correct.
Even concerts, they do that. So you have a little warm-up, and then I'm going to date myself, right? So back in high school, I went to go see Houdini, right? In concert.
Okay, yeah.
Then some little local rap artists go first.
Right.
So I feel like I'm the warm-up act tonight for Dr. George Frazier that's coming on. And really, I want to do this. I want to talk about this, and Chris can bring this up. We could take a look at it, because really he's going to unpack for us the 4 pillars of intergenerational wealth. And the reason why I want to just spend a few minutes talking about that is because it's very important to what we're doing in terms of financial literacy.
Okay.
And so here's the thing. I was listening even to John Hope Bryant and listening to him with Dr. Frazier on Tuesday night. the thing about it is the 4 pillars of intergenerational wealth transfer is significant. And when we look at this pyramid that we're looking at, the first pillar is proper management of current assets. That is huge. Proper management of current assets. And what we do is we spend, with our 8-week financial literacy course, we spend 4 weeks unpacking that in the topics of financial psychology, and the topic of budgeting, and the topic of credit profile, and in the topic of loans and debt. So we spend 4 weeks talking about that very first pillar. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people talk about those things. You got Dave Ramsey, you got others. But the problem is that if we never get above that green line, really, that's just defense. Sure. And really, if you are handling your budget and you're handling your credit and you're handling your debt, what you're really doing is surviving. And there's a lot of people that would love to see our community, see poor people, see people who are struggling, just continue to stay in a survival mode. But the 4 pillars, and that pillar is non-transferable. We can transfer the mindset to our children, but there's no hard assets that get transferred with proper management of current assets. So we have to go up the pyramid. And so we have to get to the next one, which is proper insurance and retirement. Now we're getting into a transferable asset. If I properly insure my life, if I properly insure my possessions, if I properly plan for my retirement, there's going to be something there now that can go to the next generation.
Sure.
And so we spend 2 weeks in our 8-week program talking about risk management and insurance and what's your current retirement situation.
Nice.
Again, we're building a case here for the pyramid. And then it is interesting that we're using the pyramid in this metaphor. The pyramid that was built in Egypt on the continent of Africa, the first advanced civilization on Earth, right?
I've been there, man. I've been there.
I'm going, man. I'm going.
Man, you got to go with my man. You got to go with Tony Broader. Okay, that's who I went with.
I've met Tony. I mean, you're talking about a knowledgeable dude, right?
Right. Yeah, that's my man. Yeah.
And so then the next pillar is real estate. The next pillar is to own some real estate. I own you a piece of property, whether it's your personal home or whether it's commercial property. Own some real estate. Own some real estate. And so in our 8-week curriculum, we spent a week talking about investments, including real estate.
Yes.
And so then finally in our 8-week program, where we end, the climax, if you will, is entrepreneurship. And so when we think about the 4 pillars of intergenerational wealth, proper management of your current assets, proper insurance and retirement, and own some real estate, and then business development.
Wow.
And Dr. Frazier is going to unpack that. And so our last week of the 8-week course is all about business ownership, entrepreneurship, the entrepreneur mindset. That is our final week. And so we want to encourage you all. This is a virtual class. It is open to everyone. You can register at therealmoneycoach.com. It is every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon p.m. We are getting into we'll be going into our 2nd week this week, where we're talking about budgeting. But again, those pillars, Dr. Frazier is going to unpack that as only he can.
Right.
And so we're really excited about that. And so, Marlon, tell me, what do you think?
No, I love it, man. I love what you've created. I mean, it's very simple. And that's the thing about life. You know, we don't have to complicate it. You know, one of the things I want to encourage all of us to consider is success leaves footprints. Success leaves footprints. And that's the thing. You know, one of the things that you model success. And so, you know, one of the things that we are really focused on is, okay, who's been successful? You know, and you look at someone like Warren Buffett, right? You know, I mean, rule number 1, don't lose your money. And that's why, you know, we had a phenomenal program talking about, you know, some vehicles where, you know, you can basically benefit from the market, but not lose when the market goes down. And so, again, that's so important. The other thing is I want to encourage everyone, go to therealmoneycoach.com right now and go ahead and just opt in, for the 8-week course. And even if you, miss a course, we can send you the video. What are we saying? Look, we're all, stay-at-home orders. I know they're about to release it, slow, gradual, but I call it lockdown. It's lockdown, yo. And so the thing is, you got time. And this is, if we don't grow through this, where we're better on the other side, shame on us. I mean, I'm just being real, right? I mean, so that's the thing. And so I'm so excited. We got Greg Williams, we got Elisa Jackson, John and Ada Rollins are here. Wow, this is really phenomenal. Evelyn is here. Man, thank you all. And again, if you want, go ahead. You can do a share, click the share button. You can create a watch party, so that your family, your friends can also tie in, because Dr. Frazier is going to be bringing it. But I think, Tony, to your point, one of the things that, about the class is I never learned about this, Tony. I studied electrical engineering in school. And, what I have found, some of my other friends, their parents, and their grandparents, they would have family business meetings. We didn't talk about wealth, around my dinner table. And, my parents did the best they knew how. They provided for my brothers and I. So, I think what we have to really look at is generational wealth, right, Tony? And how do we create generational wealth? What can we do? So, one of the things I got excited about, and I know, Dr. Frazier will talk about, the $1 million baby and, what we can do for the next generation. What's your perspective on that?
Well, Marlon, here's my perspective is, again, I go to the word, right? It says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children.
Come on,
right?
somebody. Yes,
and
sir.
so that's multi-generational.
Yes.
So if it's in the word, then it's good enough for us, right? Because I'm just simple enough to believe the Bible as it is written. And so I want to be counted as a good man. And so it says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Now, how we do that is very important. Is number one is we have to make sure, again, it goes back to the 4 pillars. We have to make sure that we're managing what we're doing well, right? We have to manage our current assets. And then secondly is moving into the proper insurance. Now, what's really important about that is that we understand that insurance in our community has always been, just paying for final expenses, paying for a funeral, the debit agents. Eugene talked about that last week. But we know that 60% of all wealth is transferred through the proper placement of insurance.
Wait a minute. Don't go fast, man. You got to say that one more time, because I want our listeners to really hear this. We're talking about generational wealth. I'm talking about my children's children. So repeat that again. And then I would like you to talk about some of those famous people like Walt Disney, Ray Kroc. Just break that down too, man.
Yeah. So 60% of wealth is transferred through life insurance. And from 2 standpoints. One is that you're leveraging other people's money, right? So when you think about insurance and how it's designed, everyone puts their money into the pot, and then those who need it get the money out, right? So you're leveraging other people's money. You're leveraging the investment expertise of the companies, of the carriers. So we're leveraging all of that in order to now take that and pass it on to the next generation. A good case in point is that I may not have $1 million of cash sitting in the bank, but I can spend for pennies on a dollar, depending on your age, health, maybe $100 a month, buy $1 million policy and leave that to my family. And not only do I leave it to them, I leave it to them income tax free.
Woo! Ow! Man, I'm telling you, man, that is amazing. Come on, somebody.
So that's leverage.
Yes.
So I'm using that as a leverage. So then the other
and Tony, before you go on, see, I got to jump in, man, because you know this. You've been doing this 22 years. So this is just like, this ain't, you just talking, right? You're like drinking water. But hear what he just said. Pennies on the dollar, right? Because check this out. Ain't none of us getting out of this life alive. I mean, y'all gotta hear what I'm saying. Ain't nobody getting out of this life alive. So why not? Right? Why not? and pennies on the dollar, and then be a blessing, to your family. And some people tell me, well, I don't have any children, I don't need insurance. I mean, well, isn't there a mission that or isn't there an organization? Isn't there a nonprofit that you believe in to bless them as your beneficiary?
A church.
I mean, to me, it's a mindset, ladies and gentlemen. It's a mindset. My friend Dr. Bertice Berry talks about delayed gratification, and that's what we're really talking about. So, Tony, I just wanted to really, just enunciate that, you know what I'm saying, with the exclamation point, because again, it's mindset. And then, Tony, just quickly talk about some of those famous people, because I want people to understand this ain't no, people say, oh, what are y'all talking about? No, we have some information, but again, we're modeling success. So break it down, Tony.
Right. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. I want to make this point though, real quick before we get off that, because we're talking about, I don't have $1 million in the bank. Right.
Correct.
And so I go out, I get $1 million life insurance policy. I can leave $1 million. Right.
Right.
Now, what if I have $1 million in the bank?
Okay. Like you do.
Now, if I pass that on, guess what? I'm passing on the not only the money, but I'm also passing on a liability, a tax liability.
Wow.
And if it's in anything like a 401k or TSP or anything of that nature,
sure,
it's even a greater tax liability. So
yes,
why not use life insurance to leverage so that the money that I have saved, the business that I have built, the real estate that I have acquired,
sure,
can now all be passed to my family without Uncle Sam sending his sister Iris after me to take half of it.
Right.
And so it can be used to pay the estate taxes and the settlement and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to make that point.
No, it's
not just about the death and replacing the income, although that is a huge part of it, but it's
sure,
also part of estate planning.
Estate
at
planning.
its very core.
Yeah.
And so I forgot, Marlon, I even forgot the question you asked, but
yeah, the question is, who are some individuals who have used, cash value insurance to do some things with their business?
Okay.
Because again, it's a mindset. And again, all I'm sharing for our viewers is success leaves footprints. You find out what certain successful people have done and you can model that.
Right.
And so that's what I'm,
you're talking about Walt Disney using it to buy this little piece of property outside of Orlando, Florida. That turned out to be a pretty good investment. That turned out to be a pretty good use of some cash value life insurance. If Marlon, you got 2 kids, I got 4 kids, I got some grandkids. I done bought a few Happy Meals. I saw my friend Don Fransco. He's got some little kids. I know he's been through the drive-through and got some Happy Meals, right? Okay. So Ray Crockett used cash value life insurance to buy out the McDonald's brothers, and we now know that is McDonald's.
Wow.
Now, here's the interesting thing about the other pillar of intergenerational wealth.
Sure.
McDonald's is extremely well-off corporation, but you know what they have most of their money it's in real estate. It's not in the operation of the restaurant, but they own the property that the restaurant is sitting on.
Right.
And so that goes right back to that other pillar, right?
Yeah.
It goes right back to the other pillar. Now, the other thing that's interesting, I want you to kind of comment a little bit on this. And we're just waiting for Dr. Frazier. He's going to be with us, and momentarily we're going to have a great time. I hope you have a little extra time with you tonight, because Dr. Frazier is going to unpack some things, right?
Yes, he is.
Robert Kiyosaki in the 4 quadrants.
Right.
He talks about an employee is the E. We talk about the S, which is self-employed.
Right.
And then you have the B, right, which is business. And then the I is investor.
That's right.
And so an employee is trading time for money.
Yes.
Do you want to trade time for money? I believe everybody should have a business. Now, a lot of times what is happening is that you then have a self-employed person, like, maybe a dentist, maybe someone who's self-employed. And the difference between an employee And the way he explains it, in a self-employed person is that you own the job. And I'd rather own the job than be in the job, right? But then a business system is one in which it is making money for you even when you sleep.
I love it, man. I love it. Yes, yes,
and
yes.
Then we ultimately get to being an investor. Now, Martin, before we do this, I saw this here. Reginald Risbrook said this: another issue of passing generational wealth is probate. And that is something that we also talk about in our class when we talk about risk and risk management, is we talk about estate planning. Because what we want to do is we want people to go see an attorney and get the proper wills done. We want to see them get the proper trust in place so that they can avoid probate.
All right.
So those are all things that are very important in this whole process that we teach on.
Well, I think, ladies and gentlemen, get your notepad ready, get your pen. Okay, you might get 2 pens, okay, because we're about to bring the man himself. I think we have a video that we're going to show first. Is that correct? Or
yeah, we're going to show. We're not going to try to introduce this legend.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Because words cannot. You know how they say a picture is worth 1,000 words?
Yes.
What is a video worth?
Woo!
Right?
Come on,
so we're about to see a video of the great, our mentor, Dr. George Frazier. And when the video is done, he will be back with us and he will unpack some powerful stuff for us tonight. So get your notepads ready, folks. Dr. Frazier, welcome to the Real Money Coach.
You guys are the first ones that figured out how to show that on a stream. That's really great. Thanks. Wow.
Well, that's Chris Jackson. Dr. Frazier, I'm going to take him everywhere I go. This dude is great on the technology, creative piece. You'll see him at PNC. We're going to bring him everywhere we go.
That's right.
Oh, no, yeah. He saved me. He gave me a call and I was frustrated. I was sweating beads and frustrated, man. Right? And he gave me a call, and I heard this young voice, and I could breathe. I was waiting to exhale, and the friend called, and I explained to him with calm what had occurred, and he said, "Okay." He was very calm, very cool, very collected. He said, "Fine." He said, "Just be tight, hold on tight. Just let's type in the link right directly into the Chrome browser, and because you've been trying to do it from the email." And of course I was, and I did, and bam, it worked. All right. Well, thank God for young people.
That's right.
Here you are. And here you are. So
yeah, we did it.
Dr. Frazier.
Welcome to my office. Welcome to my man cave. Right?
Love it.
Awesome. Hey, well, before you came on, I made this statement. I said, you don't put a saddle on a thoroughbred. And so what we want to do tonight, and I know Marlon may want to say something, but I'm going to drop off the screen for a little bit, and I'm going to let you loose and just share with us tonight, what's on your heart, your message that has been so consistent for so many years. And then we want to encourage all of our viewers to type in your comments, type in your questions you have for Dr. Frazier. And we're going to try to get to many of those as we can at the end here. But I'm just going to let Marlon say a little bit to you, and then we're just going to turn you loose.
Yes.
Talking about this intergenerational wealth transfer, the 4 pillars, probably touch in on the WINS movement.
Yes.
Financial literacy movement, and just be Doc.
All right. And so with that, want to say thank you, Dr. Frazier. We're very excited to have you. I shared in my opening this book. And, years ago, we were on a speaking tour and, crossed paths and got my book autographed. And what a blessing it is, for us to reconnect and now, just be part of this movement. We talked about relationships, and you got the book Click. And so, again, we just want to say thank you, because you are a visionary leader. And with all sincerity, we are so grateful. Because again, you could just be about self, you could just be about your own family, but you're saying, I want to create a legacy where my life mattered and where I uplift others and make a positive difference. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, get your notepad ready. I've got mine right here. I would like to go ahead and present to you a dear friend, a dear brother, a dear visionary leader, Dr. George C. Frazier.
Oh, Marlon, you're generous. I am turning red, and I'm of that hue that you could see when I blush. You're not, and Tony is not. But no, that's gracious, and I receive it. I'm humbled by it. I am blessed by God to have the downloads from Him put into my life, and I have been obedient. And I say this to our brothers and sisters all the time, that God is constantly talking to us, telling us exactly what to do, except most of us choose not to listen. Why? Because it requires work and it requires change. And change is very difficult. Most people, it's just easier sitting on a couch, drinking a beer, watching television. Because if it was easy, why would God need you? It is hard. It is, but it is the kind of good hard, the kind of tiredness that you fall into bed and you go directly to sleep. You're totally exhausted. So I do exhaustive work. I know, Marlon, you do exhaustive work. Tony does exhaustive work, but it's good work. It's God's work. And in particular, the work that we're now focused on at this passage in our life. I'm in my 8th passage. We get about 8 passages. Each passage is about 10 years. Let me say that differently. You're a different person at 10 than you were at 1. You're a different person at 20 than 10. You're a different person at 30 than 20. Let us pray. You're a different person at 40 than 30, 50 than 40, 60 than 50, 70 than 60, and 80 than 70. We're constantly evolving and we're constantly changing. God is constantly downloading into us, telling us the work that He needs for us to do once we prove ourselves. We go through the fire, we make the mistakes, and we learn the lessons through each of our passage, and we get new assignments. So these passages in our lives are now about economic development, wealth creation, closing the income and wealth gap, specifically in Black America. We're 500 years in. We're 500 years in. And Africans throughout the diaspora have given the Western world every single thing that we have. And 500 years later, we're still at the bottom of every single economic statistic that matters in the world. They have everything, and we have nothing. What disappoints me so much as I travel around the globe, like you, I travel 150,000, 200,000 miles a year. I have 9.5 million frequent flyer miles. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that's the work that has to be done to do the work that we're doing. After 40 years of service to our people, 40 years of giving my life, I'm 75 now. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm as excited and as energized and as passionate at 75 as I was at 45. And I think that's probably because I'm doing the work that God has assigned me to do. So God gives you the time that is needed to complete his work on earth. So no matter where I go, Marlon and Tony, throughout the Pan-African diaspora, whether it is San Diego or Maine, whether it is Seattle or Miami, whether it is New York or Los Angeles, whether it is Cape Town, South Africa, or Nigeria, whether it is Ghana or Kenya, whether it is Rio or Bahia, or whether it is the Bahamas or Jamaica. No matter where I go, wherever Black people are, we are at the bottom of the economic statistics geographically, wherever we are. We own a continent. I mean, God has blessed Black people with the richest continent of natural resources in the history of humankind. And we're still the poorest people on our own damn continent. It was Dr. Amos Wilson who said in 1994, a year before he died in 1995, he said, our refusal as Black people to confront the issue of money and wealth is going to end up with our very lives being threatened as people on this earth. Dr. Amos Wilson. YouTube him. Watch his videos. He spoke to what we are addressing right now. He also said that only when you look at yourself as a nation can you change things. We are addressing that with Fraser Nation. We're addressing the economic illiteracy that exists in our culture and community globally, not just here in America, but we are the most financially illiterate people on the planet. Lots of reasons for it. We have gone through a psychological holocaust second to none in the history of humankind. As Malcolm said, we have been tricked and bamboozled. Said truthfully, straight no chaser, we are out of our natural minds. Not all of us, just most of us. And no one is going to save us but us. It's been 500 years and we ain't saved. 100 years almost of colonialism, 400 years of the most egregious form of slavery ever invented by humankind. So when we come out of this pandemic, and we will come out of it, and we're going to come out of this better, I'm going to continue to say to Black people, in particularly my brothers and sisters who are around me here in America, until Black America puts Black America first, Black America will always be last. 500 years later, we're still last, and we're God's first people. And we civilize the world. No, Europeans did not come to Africa, pull us off of trees, eating bananas, and civilize us. That's bullshit. All you need to do is go to Egypt, go to Cairo, look at the pyramids that were built 3,000 years before Christ, still standing. Do you think the Empire State Building will still be standing 5,000 years from now? I don't think so. You go into the Valley of the Kings and you look in those tombs and you look at the paintings on those walls. They are black people. They are Africans. They're not Arabs. They're Arabs now. The Arabs conquered Egypt about 2,900 years after we built the pyramids. But it was Africans because Egypt is in Africa. And 3,000 years before Christ, it was Africans, not Arabs. We're an awesome and powerful people. But we are out of our minds right now. How long will it take us to regain our minds? To understand that we are the children of the slaves that would not die, that we have the genetic encoding of the great kings and queens of Africa, that we were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when other cultures were living in caves, eating each other. How long will that take, Dr. Fraser? It'll take another 100 years. It'll take another 3 to 5 generations. We've been given our assignment biblically. Proverbs 13:22 tells us what? That a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. I'm a baby boomer. I'm the oldest of the baby boomers at 75. The youngest of the baby boomers, 55. A recent article in the USA Today about baby boomers and their money. What did it say? That African-American baby boomers will be the first generation of Africans in America that would leave another generation of Africans in America worse off. We're the only generation, 400 years in this country alone, to leave another generation worse off. We're outside of our biblical teachings. We must fix this. And no one is going to fix this for us but us. Others, other races, whether it's Caucasians or whether it's East Indians or Asians, and if you put the East Indians and Asians together, that's the largest race of people in the world at 4.4 billion. We're the second largest race in the world as African people at 1.6 billion, and Caucasians are the smallest of the race, and they have recessive genes. They're about 1 billion. So what are Caucasians doing? They are fighting for their life. They are fighting for their survival. They're doing whatever they need to do to succeed, whether it is to enslave Africans, whether it is to colonize Africa, whether it is to shoot and kill and maim, or whatever it is that they do. They are trying to survive. That is what they are doing. What we must now do is everything we need to do to survive. That's what we got to do. And there will be a generation or two who will ultimately get this. But that will take 3 to 5 generations before we get it, before we come close to closing the income and wealth gap between blacks and whites in America, the richest continent on the planet. There are no black people in the entire world doing better than black people are. We are the beacon of hope of every single person of African descent. And we know that too much is given, much is required. We are not doing what we must do. Some are, God bless them. Most aren't. So we have developed a system to address the financial literacy of our people. That system is faith-based. Why is it faith-based, Dr. Fraser? Because that's where black people are. They are in the most trusted, the most regarded, the most admired, the most effective, the most populated institution in our culture, the Black church. There are 85,000 black churches just in the United States. About 10,000 of them have wealth ministries. They're not what they need to be. Those wealth ministries need to be upgraded. And then all black churches must have a wealth ministry, preaching the gospel of economics and financial education and financial literacy. There are 2,500 references to economics, finances, and money in the Bible. It's not outside of our spiritual and theological teachings. It's in the Bible. 8 of Jesus's, I think it's 39 parables are about money. So we must put a system to educate our people in the most revered, the most trusted, the most respected institution in our culture, and that is the historically Black church. That system is named WINS. WINS, Wealth Building Centers and Curriculum. And I'm really proud to say that Marlon Smith and Tony Jackson are leading the charge in installing WINS in churches in the Charlotte area, providing leadership for the WINS system that will be in literally tens of thousands of churches. So as long as we live, many more while I'm living, and most while they're living. That's our goal. That's what we want to do, to preach the gospel of the 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. We have a wonderful curriculum. There's 75 modules in the curriculum. It teaches every single thing that you ever want to know in the area of money management, business development. But if you took the entire 75 curriculums or 75 modules in the curriculum, totals about 400 pages, incredible curriculum. We could say the essence of our curriculum could be narrowed down to 4 categories, generally speaking. And that's what I'm going to spend a couple of minutes on. We don't have time to unpack the whole thing. You keep attending these wealth broadcasts that Tony and Marlon are doing, bringing on special guests. You'll learn, they'll unpack a lot more than I have time to unpack tonight. But I just want to give you a 30,000-foot view of what we call the 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. And Tony and both Marlon touched on it a bit while I was getting my technology act together to get in the show tonight. And thanks to Youngblood, us old guys figured it out. But that's a whole nother story. The 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. Let me preface that by saying that the function of financial education and financial intelligence is to solve the problems particular to a people and a nation's biological survival. Let me say that a different way. When we finish pontificating ad nauseum about our issues, somebody's got to write a check. And right now, we can't write a check in spite of the fact that we are $1.2, $1.3 trillion annual economy. Black people in America, we still can't write a damn check. Has the pandemic caught us woefully unprepared? Oh, the answer to that would be hell to the yes. Oh, yeah. Now you're really going to understand what mom and them was telling you, put money away for a rainy day. Well, this is a rainy day for your behind right now. And this rainy day might last up to a year before we get a vaccine or do whatever we can do to fight the virus. It's like fighting a sword with a toothpick. They say a vaccine is 18 months away. By the time they make it and produce it and distribute it and people get vaccinated, it could be 2 years before we really protect it like we protected against the flu virus. So we have learned some lessons about money, about investment of money, about accumulating assets and smartly managing those assets. Why? So what is the first pillar for the intergenerational transfer of wealth? Proverbs 13:22, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. The first pillar is the proper management of accumulated wealth, so that we can stop reading about athletes who earn $100 million in their career. Once they retire within 5 years, they're either broke or in bankruptcy, is what I wanted to say. That's the improper management of accumulated wealth. There are 2.2 million households, black households in America worth $400,000 or more. Most of that's tied up in real estate. There are 35,000 black millionaires in America alone. Don't get excited. There are 1.5 million white millionaires. There's a huge gap there. And we came over here on the Mayflower. Proper management of accumulated wealth. Now, I know you're skilled. And I know you got an accountant degree, or maybe a doctorate degree, or a physician's degree, or a lawyer's degree, or you are a pipe fitter, you are a carpenter, you are a master plumber, you're a technologist. I know you have mad skills in that, right? You're an inch wide and a mile deep in your subject matter expertise. That's because that's what you ought to be. Because if you're black and mediocre in America, you better leave, because you're going to be marginalized. You're going to be destroyed. Either you're excellent or you're invisible in this country, especially if you got a business. You're either excellent or you're invisible. So you're excellent in whatever you do. Continue to be excellent. But you don't really know anything about managing money. There are 130, 140,000 black people in this country who are licensed in a financial service, be it real estate, or certified financial planners, bankers, stockbrokers. They're experts in managing money. That's what they do. That's their expertise. I'm an expert speaker, and I write about networking, and I write about economic development, but I'm really not the expert, the degreed, certified person, right? To analyze the market, analyze bonds, analyze Forex. There are people that's what they do. They get paid to do that. LeBron James is awesome at basketball, makes $40 million a year. You know who manages LeBron's money? Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett doesn't know shit about basketball. If you put Warren Buffett on a step ladder and gave him a basketball, he would miss the dunk. He's not even interested in basketball. Warren Buffett is an expert in the proper management of wealth. So LeBron James, as bad as he is, how much as he's loved, he don't know much about money. But Warren Buffett does. And neither do you. Most of us don't know much about how to properly manage our assets. So my advice to you is find a brother or sister, and there are plenty of them. If we were having this conversation 75 years ago, there would not be plenty of them. But there are plenty of them now. Get them to manage your money, or do the reading, the studying, the analysis of what it takes to do that. If you're willing to do that work, God bless you. If you're not, and you want to spend that time reading and studying and deepening your skill or your profession, and then leave somebody to manage your money while you pile it on, that's what I'm doing. That's what you ought to be doing. That's the first pillar for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. We can go a long way with that, but let's just leave it at that. The second pillar for the intergenerational transfer is real estate. What's the first thing God gave Adam? Real estate. What's the first thing God gave Isaac? Real estate, real estate, real estate. They ain't making any more. There's even now real estate in the sky, in the cloud. What do you think websites are? What do you think you're purchasing a website name for X amount of dollars? You're purchasing a little piece of real estate. You own that. Nobody can get on that real estate. Nobody can use that name or get in your property without your permission. It's a new form of technological real estate. But real estate, real estate, real estate. Again, we came over here on the Mayflower, 1619. And we own the fewest number of homes per capita of any cultural group in this country. I made my first fortune in the 70s in real estate. buying 7 2-family and 8 3-family homes, all right next door to each other, in a block that was basically Polish. Black people started moving in. White folks got scared, wanted to get the hell out of there. It's called blockbusting. And I purchased those homes, which were in pristine conditions because they live in families and you can eat off the floor, for pennies on the dollar. They just wanted to get away from Black people. And I helped them. And I turned all those homes into Section 8 homes. Why? Because the government was paying the most money. Rent. Now, I had to be very selective about the tenants. I made them a promise. I accelerated the depreciation on these homes. I wasn't buying them and flipping them. That's a whole nother thing. I was keeping them and using them as rental income. I was counting doors. And for each door, I wanted to average about $150 to $200 a month. And I wanted the tax write-offs, so accelerated depreciation. I was taking care of them myself because I have a vocational diploma in carpentry. I can use my hands. And I made a fortune when I flipped those houses nearly 13 years later. I don't even want to tell you what I sold them for. As relates to what I bought them for. This was in the 70s. You might not have even been born. Or you were little. And while you were little, I was thinking of ways to leverage what assets I had at that time in real estate. What's the third pillar for the intergenerational transfer of wealth? Business ownership. Business ownership. Oh, yeah. We own the fewest number of businesses per capita of any cultural group in this country. And again, we came over here on the Mayflower. 97% of Black people have jobs. Nothing wrong with jobs now. I ain't hating on jobs. We don't need all Black people in business. There are Black people who we don't want to be in business. We call them business people. And our job at the Power Networking Conference that we put on in October of this year, our job is to put the business people out of business because they're messing it up for those of us who are trying to do serious business. We're tracking in the right direction. We're now at about 2.6 million Black-owned businesses. That's up about 35% over the last 5-year reporting period. So we're making progress. That's the upside. The downside of the 2.6 million Black-owned businesses, only 111,000 of those businesses employ anybody. But the average annual revenue of those 111,000 Black-owned businesses is $1.3 million a year, and that's up 11% over the last 5-year reporting period. The bad news is 2.59 million of our businesses are sole proprietorship. 40% of that growth has come from Black women. Black women are opening more businesses today than Black men. But the average annual revenue of those sole proprietorships is $18,700 a year. That is below the poverty line. And that business is down 7% over the last 5-year reporting period in terms of an average annual revenues of those businesses. What does it mean? It means you either grow or you die, just like everything in life. Everything that God has ever produced is either growing or dying. There is no standing still. Oh, no, you can stand still. That means you're going backwards because everything else is growing. You grow or you die. Business ownership. Business ownership. Why is that fundamentally important? Because it is the only way to create work and jobs for your people. We must ultimately, by the end of the 21st century, become the #1 employer of our own people. And every immigrant group that has ever come to this country has understood that, but us. So we need more business owners. And we need brothers and sisters who are strategically and tactically positioned in the public and private sector workplace so that we can access the resources of the workplace, of which we can contribute to significantly. And if we're not present, white folks are not thinking about us. Black people don't get up in the morning and get around the conference table and say, what we're going to do for Black people today. No. They think about that. They say that. They discuss that when you are present. That's why we need Black people everywhere. That's the third pillar for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. And the final pillar, and Tony and Marlon talked about this earlier, and they're profoundly right. Proper insurance. 60% of all wealth is transferred strategically and tactically through the proper placement of insurance, and we don't have a clue. More of us are buying insurance than ever before, but on a percentage basis, we have the least amount of insurance coverage almost of any cultural group in this country. It was an interesting article in the New York Times. It was about Black people and their cell phones. But what came out of the article was that more Black people have insurance on their cell phones than on their lives or the lives of their children by a factor of 10. In other words, we value our cell phones more than we value our lives and the future of our children's lives. That's insanity. There are insurance products and plans and programs beyond the old school debit insurance. I remember Mom, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and Mom, I remember paying $5 a month to a brother from the Atlanta Life for burial insurance. And by the way, it barely buried her. A GoFundMe plan is not a burial plan. It should not be. You should be embarrassed by that. Proper insurance. Get someone that knows something about insurance, who's trained in it, and at least inquire, at least be curious enough to open the book and take a peek. It'll change your life, but you could do with $100 a month. We spill more than that at cocktail parties. Those are the 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth. Everything pivots from that. There are all kinds of machinations and variations on those themes. There are at least 20 to 30 elements of each one of them. It's in our curriculum. It's in our Wins Wealth Building program that will someday, sooner rather than later, be at your church. And if you're not using or engage in a financial education program, a financial literacy program, they're everywhere. We think ours is the best because it is a real system. Do so, please. Read a book. Go on live calls. This is abundance of information. I say this and I still want to be loved by you, and that is, again, no one is going to save us but us. No one is going to save us but us. It's been 400 years and we ain't saved. Let me finish with this. Brothers and sisters, in case no one has told you, life has no meaning. Each of you have meaning, and you bring that to life. So it is a waste of time to be asking the question when you are the answer. You are the meaning of life. Act like it.
Wow. Act like it. Come on, somebody. All right. Either you are excellent or you are invisible. Drop the mic. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out.
Mic drop. Mic drop.
I'm about to turn this desk over, Dr. George. Come on. Man, that was incredible. I just want our viewers to, if there's any questions, comments, what resonated with you, this is your time, you know, and I love it, you know, no chaser, just straight up. The power is within. There's greatness within each one of us. And Dr. George is just keeping it real.
Wow.
And so what did you feel about that, brother?
Wow, man, Dr. Frazier. You know, it's like, man, it's like when you go to church, when you've heard a good sermon, man, you just don't, you can't add anything to it. You just gotta take it home, internalize it, and then use it to make a difference the next day. Wow, wow. Dr. Frazier, so powerful. And every time I'm in your presence, every time I hear you, I just pick up more and more little nuggets.
Yeah.
And we're
you know what? You know what? You guys, I've been around you a long time. We spent many hours together, and you hear me say the same things. Now, there's a method to my madness, and I've lectured you about this, Tony. The reason I say the same things is because I know the key to learning is simplicity and repetition. And I simply want to keep saying it to you and saying to my brothers and sisters so that at some point in time, you can repeat it verbatim to your circle and to succeeding generations, because it is the message of our lifetime.
Yes, sir.
So you must benefit. Every time I'm in front of you, I'm going to say basically the same things so that you will memorize it.
Right.
You'll add a little hot sauce to it. You'll do it in your style. But in essence, you will say the same thing.
Yes. And you know, Dr. Frazier, I'll give you credit for it the first 3 times.
That's right. The law of attribution.
and then it's something I heard, but you know, those are some of the things that we do pick up being your proteges. You know, I say all the time, I heard you say it with John Hope Bryant on Tuesday night, is that, you know, rich people stay rich by acting poor, and poor people stay poor by acting rich. And when I heard you say that, I think the first time I heard you say that, we were together in Birmingham, Alabama. And when I heard that, it just resonated with me. So, and so this has just been very, very powerful. We have so many great comments here. You know, my wife says, "Thank you, Dr. Frazier." She knows what you mean to me. Adele Ryan talks about how powerful it's been tonight. Right. Nicole Douglas, Mary Nicole Douglas, did a tremendous job on our show. She's just said, wow, you know, that just wow. And amazing. So we love you, Dr. Frazier. We love everything that you do. And I feel so blessed to be a part of this WINS movement, a part of this, and it's a movement to educate our people everywhere we can.
That's right.
The message has to be frequent, it has to be often, it has to be powerful, and it has to be results driven.
That's right.
And so, absolutely.
Yeah. And so one of the questions that we have is from Wayne. And, you know, basically, you know, because, you know, great question. You know, you were working, Dr. Frazier, you had your family, and he wants to know, how did you find the time to find those houses, you know, that opportunity in the 70s, you know, that created your, you know, can you just talk to us about your time and any suggestions you have? Because, you know, we see all those books in your study, and I know you've read them all. Just, you know, I mean, you know, readers are leaders, and leaders are readers. So unpack that. I mean, what insights can you share as far as time and how to, you know, prioritize?
Yeah. Well, as most people who are watching know, that I have an industrial strength Solodex, right? SOULO-DEX, right? And relative to that particular real estate deal, I got wind of that through a friend of mine who was deputy mayor at the time,
Mm.
right? And we were just sort of chatting. And he was giving me the lay of the land and says, what's going on? These neighborhoods are changing, yada, yada, yada. There's opportunity. And I listened. But not only did I listen, because listening is important, reading is important, studying is important, being intellectually curious is important, being a critical thinker is important. But at some point in time, you got to take action.
Come on.
So I listened. I didn't know a damn thing about buying real estate. I mean, I lived in a home, but in terms of rental property, because I wasn't flipping. Flipping wasn't the thing back then. It was rental. Everybody wanted rental property. In fact, the optimal at that in that time was you buy a 2-family home, you live on the bottom, and you got a renter up on top, and the renter's rent pays your mortgage.
Right.
That was the strategy back then. And then the secondary strategy is get some rental property. And you start with 2-family homes, maybe 3-family homes, then you move into 4-unit apartments, 6-unit apartments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That was my plan. But first things first, second things never. I had to find the first one on the first block for the right reasons. Right?
Right.
At that time, and Malcolm Gladwell, many years wrote a book about this called The Tipping Point. The Tipping Point. And the tipping point says that whenever the Black population in any entity in America increases to 20% or more, white people leave. Bars, restaurants, neighborhoods, you name it. Whenever, that's the tipping point. When our numbers become 20% or more, they're gone. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that white people are not even comfortable around Black people when they're 80%. They leave. So this was beginning to happen on 124th Street in Buckeye in Cleveland, Ohio, which was a Slavic neighborhood back in the day, but Black people was inching in fast. Those white folks said, oh, hell to the no. I'm out of here by any means necessary. So this guy approaches him. I approached one family who I met through a friend.
Mm.
Now, of course, looking the way I looked, they wasn't quite sure what in the hell I was. But I was their savior. I was going to buy their property because these coloreds was going to take over this neighborhood. And we negotiated a deal that literally was pennies on a dollar, 15 cents on a dollar. I got those houses. Now, remember now, this is 40 years ago. These are pristine now. I got them for $6,000.
Mm.
Sold them for $100. 15 years later, after I accelerated depreciation, took all the write-offs, everything, I had almost with zero taxes for my wife and I for years. So it was an economic boom and an education.
Right. Wow.
Now,
Thank
do
you.
those opportunities still exist? Yes, absolutely, they do.
Yes.
It's all relative, not at those numbers. No, I mean, you might be able to get some really dilapidated, half torn down house in the hood for $3,000 or $4,000, where they really just want you to destroy it and build a new house on it. But that era is gone. But there are other eras. Then there's flipping, and there's all kinds of other eras. And a brother made a fortune in Los Angeles, California, doing the same thing in neighborhoods, white neighborhoods adjacent to Black neighborhoods. And they started buying the white homes and putting black families in those shishi poo poo white homes in these exclusive sort of LA neighborhoods, and black people start creeping in because the brother was smart enough to buy the house, rehab it to some extent, up the rent, give it to black people, and before you know it, it was white flight, and he made a fortune.
Wow, thank you.
So you got to turn it. You got to flip the script on them. I mean, we're some of the most innovative, some of the most creative people on the planet. Hell, we made a meal out of chitlins, man. We know how to survive.
Absolutely.
Right? Well, I mean, we know, right? Except that too much. Let me put it this way, and I want to say this and still be loved. Too many of us have turned into Toms. I don't mean Uncle Toms. That too many of us are engaged in the toleration of mediocrity. The tolerating mediocrity. Mediocrity has become the norm among black people. We'll never be able to compete. We're in a global workforce. Anybody living in a garage or a basement can do what you do for pennies on a dollar. But they can't do it if you're exceptional. They can't do it if you're excellent. You've heard me say this a million times. If you're excellent or exceptional, you'll never have to worry about competition. Competition gonna have to worry about you. You will never have to wait in anybody's line. People will wait in line for you. Why? Because exceptionalism and excellence is rare. You will rise above the masses, just doing what you do better than anybody else.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You know, I got to say this. Brother Day said, you know, that was the truth, the painful truth. I am embarrassed by the wasted time of my own talents and skills. And I thank you, Brother Day, because one of the things that you realize is that, we've all made mistakes in the past. And I think, Dr. Frazier has really just ignited that passion to realize what I do today, from this day forward, this is it. We can't change the past. It's gone. It's history. And so we got to move with a sense of urgency. Dr. Frazier is 75, and he said he feels just as much energy when he was 45 because he's on purpose. He's got a mission. And so that's what it is. And I want to say, Brother Day, you said, how do we get the WINS program up to the Northeast Black communities, right? And so, definitely send us an email to info@therealmoneycoach.com, because we're committed. This is a movement. And, Tony, I know you want to chime in, but I wanted to bring this up because, and before we close, I have to say this, Dr. Frazier, this has been great, phenomenal, but I want us to make sure that for all of our viewers, we give some specific action items. One thing I think is so important is, Dr. Frazier is, we are, on this movement. And so one of the things I want to encourage everyone to go to www.therealmoneycoach.com. And at the very least, go ahead and enroll in this wealth building financial literacy program that we have. It's free. It's complimentary. There, look at this. You see, you can't say, oh, I didn't know. No, that's over. The excuses are over. And, you get a complimentary workbook. So you were talking about for your family, your friends, your neighbors, right? And even if you can't go to all 8 sessions, go ahead and enroll, because you see all those books behind Dr. Frazier's hat in his study. I'm telling you, we're going to be unpacking the best of the best. We're not saying out.
Marlon, let's encourage all of our brothers and sisters that are watching. Join us at the Power Networking Conference and meet Marlon and meet Tony and meet 20 other brothers and sisters that are at least as bad as they are, right? Meet them, right? Get to know them, bond with them, right? There are going to be 1,500 people at the Power Network Conference in our 19th year. Forbes magazine named us one of the top 5 conferences in America not to be missed. Right. Not one of the top 5 Black conferences, one of the top 5 of all conferences produced in this country, not to be missed. You need to be there. If you are not where you are, if you're not where you want to be in life, it's because you do not have the right people in your life. End of sentence.
That's
you need
it.
the right people. You need to be hanging around with the right people. Don't spend major time with minor people. People going nowhere want you to go nowhere with them. People doing nothing want you to do nothing with them. If you want to change your life, change your relationships. By coming to the Power Networking Conference, you're going to meet 1,500 people that think like Tony, think like me, and think like Marlon. That's what you're going to meet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So
And you're
let me make you an offer. So this is an offer. It's a crazy offer. It's good for only 5 people. That's how crazy the offer is. It's the first 5 people. An adult registration for the Power Networking Conference is $1,500. If you met one person that could help change the economic trajectory of your life, would that be worth $1,500? The answer to that would be held to the yes. The other answer to that is you'll meet more than one. You'll meet several. We want you to bring a young person 17 to 25. We should be conferencing this way with our children and with our mentees, with a young person who's sitting at the feet of masters. They need to be between 17 and 25. A student registration is $800. So a student registration and a full registration, you add them together, that's $2,300. The best investment you'll make in your life. We're going to take $1,900 off of that. We're going to give you that package, you and a student, for $399. Now, you can go to www.powernetworkingconference.com and learn all about the conference, but you cannot get this deal on the site. You can get a deal on the site, but it ain't this deal. This comes right from me. So if you want this deal for the first 5 people, you're going to have to email me at gfraser, F-R-A-S as in Sam, E-R, at frasernet.com. That's gfraser at frasernet.com. In the subject line, put "I'm in." In the body of the email, put your name and cell number. Put your name and cell number. The first 5 people get $1,900 off. They get an adult and a student together for $399. That's the first 5 people. All emails are what? Time stamped. Now, when you do that, I will call you. Not one of my 5 assistants, me. I'll call you. And we'll handle it. That's the only way you can get it. First 5 people. Again, that's my offer, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, let me up. Let me say this. My first PNC conference was at the Gaylord there in the harbor there, Baltimore Harbor, and it was life-changing. It changed my life, and I haven't missed one since, Dr. Frazier.
Amen.
And my responsibilities at each one has increased over the years. I do thank you for trusting your stage to me. Marlon, obviously an international speaker, but we had some great times. And so I know that it's been 90 minutes.
Yes.
It's been 90 minutes. And I don't know how to turn this thing off.
We usually go 60 minutes.
I apologize.
No apology necessary. This has been phenomenal.
And I believe that our audience will have you to come back. And so we're going to come back and we're going to do this again.
Yes.
And it's been absolutely wonderful. Again, I want to express for people to sign up for the virtual class that's taking place Saturday, 11 to 12 Eastern time. It's absolutely free. Go to therealmoneycoach.com. The other thing I want to do is if you want a free analysis, of where you are in terms of the things that Dr. Frazier talked about, proper insurance and etc., email us at info@therealmoneycoach.com. It is absolutely free. It's no cost to you at all. If you've had one of those appointments with me, if it was valuable at all, put that in the chat box so that other people know that this is not a sales job. It's not a bait and switch. I'm going to share with you, my expertise and the best that I can. So if you've had that experience, you can put that in your chat box. I would love, but email us at info@therealmoneycoach. All right.
That's awesome. Well, Tony, I mean,
let me just close with one little piece of advice for the sisters. And again, I want to say this and still be loved. You know what I'm going to say, sisters, if you can't build with them, don't chill with them, because ladies, if he's not wearing a diaper, you can't change him.
You always pray about something new. Something new, Dr. Frazier.
Right. What in the world? Okay.
Dr. Frazier, we got a lot of people from New Birth on with us. We got a lot of people from the Park with us.
Our favorite church, the Park in New Birth, up in here.
Yes, and Tommy Day is actually in Boston talking about how do we bring it out there. And so our mission is to take this financial education across the world. Thank you, Harvey Jones. I appreciate that endorsement. Wonderful guy in Birmingham, Alabama. Him and his wife, Linda, are absolutely awesome. So we want to give the last word to Dr. Frazier. Mark?
Yes, most definitely.
You got something you want to close before he closes?
Yeah, I want to quote Socrates. And, you know, I'm not bougie or anything, but Socrates says something profoundly simple but powerful. Socrates said that the only good is knowledge, and the only evil is ignorance. Don't be ignorant. You must learn, earn, and return.